Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. First things first, I do a giveaway every single week, so if you're interested, I'll tell you how to enter later on in the video. But today we have some malicious compliance stories, and our first story of the day is by MerihK. Was asked to not speak unless asked to, so I did, or rather did not. This story starts a month or so before the March of this year. Let's call that BC. I had just joined a precision stampings company for an internship, and what they basically manufactured was washers, shims, and spacers from cold rolled steel. They used about 34, 60 to 150 ton mechanical presses and had specific dies for each part. To make it simple, they had glorious punching machines with different size holes to punch. I had a manager above me whom I reported to, and he was basically a work of art in his own way. Regularly ignored chain of command, carried himself like the king of the castle, regularly demeaned jobs of people below him, and had a blatant disregard for safety. He looked after the whole production, and I guess it was normal for people in top positions to get their heads stuffed with the wrong stuffing. I judged this pretty early on and never got in his way and did what I was told. Now, little intern me was learning the basics and little things about everything and spent most of my time on the shop floor watching operators do their job and study each process and the tools. The tools were unique punches for a specific part and couldn't be replaced easily. Now, BC, it was normal for customers to give urgent orders with deliveries to the tune of 2 to 3 days as compared to the usual 2 to 3 months. This one customer, let's call them GG, a major automobile spare parts manufacturer, had the habit of doing just that, and our company manufactured the part within a few hours and always delivered on time. Because of this, the customer always stuck to us. During the first few days of my internship, the order dropped and I got to see the turmoil needed to reach the deadline in 2 days. I watched every step of the process and saw it through the end till dispatch. Now, it so happens that an experienced operator had just joined our company and didn't have an idea of the little things of the workings here. He got to work on the part, and after he was done, he removed the tool and had no idea about the designated place for the tool to be kept. I told him about the racks with numberings for each unique tool to be kept. Meanwhile, I get down to work and forget about it. He comes a few minutes later and tells me that he couldn't find the exact place for the tool and hence kept the tool in a place equivalent to keeping a book behind a shelf for the time being until he tells someone to put it in the right place. Fair enough. Then something happened a few days later and we went into a lockdown. Jump to after something happened in a country to cause lockdown, let's call that AC. The company has been closed for about 2 months and we were working on about 30% of the original workforce, which was mostly machine operators. I had just graduated from my engineering and was looking for a job. They laid off some people in the top positions, and as a result, I got promoted to the position of production supervisor. Basically, they needed someone who knew everything about the processes and production timings of operators, which was most definitely not me, but I came for a cheap price and hence, bippity-boppity, a wild OP appeared. I tried my best to live up to it and took me about a week to get used to the pace. The manager kept bypassing me to contact the operators and have them order without me knowing, which caused a lot of confusion. One day, that is the day before yesterday, he held a meeting to decide the production schedule that we were going to follow for the rest of the month. I don't know why the meeting was held because the production planning department gives us the schedule every week, so I just say that in the meeting. I regret waking up that day. He felt undermined in front of the production staff, I guess, which caused him to just go off on me. Scolded me for interrupting my senior and talking out of turn and not knowing enough about the company to even talk in a meeting. Also to keep my gob shut and open it only when asked to. Fair enough, guess I was just there to look after the small jobs. The meeting finishes and I keep out of his way for the rest of the day. Just before my shift gets over, GG Company drops the purchase order for their part. I saw it, read it, and as I wasn't qualified enough, decided to send it to my manager. Now, company policy dictates you to let me know about overtime at least an hour before my shift gets over. Me, being incompetent, forgot to send the schedule to the manager until a few minutes before the overtime deadline, just to be safe. I knew the delivery was for 2 days later, so they had to get going early. The manager starts barking orders. Trek me to wait overtime. I refuse, mention the company policy, and get scarce from his usual working space. There was some commotion around there, but my shift got over. I go home, sleep, come back to work the other day, knowing that it was going to be a long day with probable double shift for me. I came prepared with the provisions. You people are smart enough, you know where this is going, so here's wrapping it up fast. Before I left, they couldn't find the tool they needed for the job, hence the commotion. The operator who kept it there was fired, and the company, knowing that they did it in bad faith, didn't call him for the location. I come back the next day, they still haven't found it. They have started developing the tool from scratch and had to call in the tool designers. They obviously had no idea that I knew it. We wouldn't be here if my manager had simply asked me. But I was to open my mouth only when asked to. So I didn't tell them. I called the operator and told him to tell the company that he kept the tool in place just in case. The day gets by smoothly for me until lunch when the manager suddenly sees me. He tells me I'm working a double shift and I say okay. He didn't ask me about the tool. I said nothing. This was yesterday, by the way. The tool they made breaks down within an hour. The hunt for the old tool begins. Nobody asks me anything. Fair enough, I keep working on the rest of the production line. My first shift gets over. They have looked under every stone in the factory. It's almost midnight, everybody is tired. My manager hadn't slept since the order came in. Now it's apparent the order wouldn't be completed, but they still keep on searching. Now to the point that I'm writing this in real time. I slept in my office a nice 6 hours. The manager was too busy to notice me. Woke up and got ready to leave, but decided against it. The delivery was supposed to be at 9:30 a.m. today. It's 3:30 p.m. now. They have told the customer they won't be able to deliver due to the lack of raw materials in lockdown era. Probably lost a customer. The manager hasn't slept in 2 days. I've completed almost 3 shifts and would be paid double for overtime. I have just come from the manager's cabin. This is how it went. I say, "May I come in, sir?" The manager says, "What do you want?" "Did we complete the schedule, sir?" "What does it look like?" "I guess not." "Why though?" "Were you under a rock? The tool was missing and we broke the new one." "If you don't mind me asking, sir, which tool? I haven't gotten used to the nomenclature yet." "TN5386GG. What even have you been doing all this time? All the production supervisors were on the floor looking for the tool. I didn't see you once." "You asked me not to speak unless asked to, sir, and if I'm not wrong, is that the tool that's on that place?" What even are you talking about? We don't keep it there." "Well, that's obvious that we didn't keep it in the usual place, isn't it, sir? Should have asked me." "I don't think you even understand what's going on here. That must be a different tool you misjudged. I'll show you what tool that is." We go over to the place, and sure enough, it's the same tool. He immediately started yelling and calling for some people, and I make myself scarce. Safe to say that I might get fired, but I lived this moment and I have a college admission in my hand. What do you guys think? After all that, should OP immediately start looking for a new job, or do you think OP might be able to stick around a little bit longer? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by MerihK. Don't go in the house with your muddy shoes. Okay. I've been sitting on this story for a long time and I'd like to share it with you. Even if this seems like a minor incident, it satisfied my years-long appetite for revenge. I can't list all of the nasty things she said to me and my family, but take my word for it. This story comes from a few years back, before my grandmother was bedridden because of severe Alzheimer's. You see, after my grandfather died in the early 80s, my grandmother and her youngest sister moved in together. The youngest sister was and is an unpleasant woman in my humble opinion. I doubt she is well loved among the family either. My dad thinks her behavior to my grandma somewhat sped up the process of her Alzheimer's. I'm fuzzy on the details of when this took place, but my dad decided, as a family, we should take my grandma on a holiday on the Greek islands to give her some breathing room from her sister's shenanigans. We spent about a week on Chios and went back to my grandmother's summer house. There was an infrastructural work of some kind just outside the garden gates, which meant there was a big trench with dirt shoveled on either end. Since my dad had back problems, I had to carry a significant chunk of the suitcases. So I picked up 2 big suitcases and my backpack and walked up to the garden gates where my grandmother's sister greeted us. The first thing she told me, not even a proper greeting, and I quote as well as I can, "Don't walk into the house with your muddy shoes, I just swept up." We packed up and drove all day. I was exhausted and angsty, and this gave me a chance to have my small but fair revenge. So I complied. I walked up to the trench, took off my shoes and threw them over the trench in front of her, and hopped over the trench in my socks covered in mud with 2 heavy suitcases in my hands and a bag on my back, and went inside the house. I put the luggage inside and went for the second run. All the while, she watched with her mouth agape in shock. My dad questioned me before bedtime, and I told him I did what I was told. I didn't go in with my muddy shoes, just muddy socks. He agreed but told me not to do it again. I wasn't grounded. I could tell from his voice my dad was as amused as me. Not to mention my mother was standing beside my dad and giggling during the conversation. As for my grandmother's sister, she didn't talk to me for weeks, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Well, if the grandmother sister is a complete jerk to everybody else, and especially your grandmother, I don't think anybody's really going to bat too much of an eye if you decide to be a jerk to the sister the one time. This next story is by Lone Wolf WY13. Don't ever interrupt you while you're on the phone? Fine. My grandmother and my mother were both extremely strict about them not being interrupted while on the phone. One year while visiting grandmother, I decided to climb a large tree in her yard. I don't remember how high it was, but I was almost to the top. Now, being 11, I of course climb onto a dead branch and it snaps. I fall, plummeting to the ground. As soon as I realize I'm alive, I notice I can't quite move my left arm. I tell brother to go inside and tell our grandmother. Now, my brother has Asperger's and was 2 years younger than me. He goes into the house, sits down, and waits. I'm sure it was only a few minutes, but for me, it seemed like an eternity. Finally, she hangs up the phone and asks him what was the matter. That's when he told her I fell out of the tree. At the hospital, somebody, the nurse or doctor I don't remember, asked me about the details. I told them I laid there on the ground for a while. When I was asked why, my brother, who was in the office with us, said that he had to wait until grandmother got off the phone call to tell her. My grandmother had to explain to them what was going on. I do remember a social worker ushering them out of the room and asking some questions. After that, both grandmother and mother explained to us that if it's an emergency, we need to tell them right away. It's very easy to make up these rules about don't interrupt us while we're on the phone at any time without any forethought about potential emergency situations. Obviously, you can probably think that they assumed if there was an emergency you would tell them anyways, but for somebody like OP's brother that has a condition, they just weren't able to make that assumption in the moment. I would bet it makes them feel a little embarrassed about making that rule so harshly now. So quickly now, I just want to explain how to enter the giveaway. The way it works is I take every video that was uploaded in a given week, find one random comment that was relevant to the stories in that video, and I give them an Amazon gift card. It's that simple. So all you want to do to have the best chances to win is to leave a comment relevant to the video in some form on every video this week. That's all you have to do, and best of luck. And also, if you could like the videos too, that would help more than you could possibly imagine. And our final story of the day is by Wizard135, Apple vs. Epic Games Drama. This story is overly simplified, but man, it just screams malicious compliance. I recommend looking it up if you want more details. A few months ago, Epic Games, developer of the popular game Fortnite, tried to sue Apple for charging a huge fee on their App Store, which means any revenue generated on their apps, a 30% cut will go straight to Apple. Epic argued that this is unfair. Apple's trying to monopolize the Apple app ecosystem, and this is for the benefit of the mobile app community. The media went on a frenzy, and many other companies, notably Microsoft, seemingly sided with Epic. Apple, in a stroke of genius, responded with lowering the fees charged, but only for any mobile developers earning less than $1 million a year. So Epic, trying to fight for the benefit of everyone, got exactly what they wanted. But really, we all know Epic just wants a bigger margin of its revenue, and it's absolutely not getting it. P.S. I don't support either companies, but man, is this drama entertaining to watch. Well, for me personally, 30% of any profit you make off of an app on the Apple Store does seem exceedingly greedy to me personally. I definitely think lowering it, at least for the people under $1 million a year, is a definite good thing, but I still think even at the top of the top, 30% of any profit you make, that's a lot. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So, which of these stories was your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing and turn notifications on if you haven't so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Any little thing that you do helps the channel grow so much more. Whether it's commenting, subscribing, or just watching the video, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time right here on the Storytime channel.